results. The first run was the best. The second run, which is on the bottom, it lost like 4 horsepower. And then the last run, it lost 10 from the beginning. And it just keeps getting richer and richer and richer. You can see on the last run, we're down at 10.3. So it went 11.7, 11.3, 10.3. So it's protecting itself as it's getting hot. We're running these almost back to back. It has like just very minimal cool down. So we're not trying to make a big number or anything. So what we can do is we can average probably the first 2 numbers. But you can see that is SAE correction factor. Here's the 2018. It's going to be dyno bone stock along with the 17. So we will see the difference. Then we're going to race. You're going to learn today. Okay, here's the 18 strapped down, ready to go. Same day, same conditions, same dyno, same tire pressure. So we're gonna see what she does. So here's the second 2018 run. Well, it looks like 153, so it lost 9 horse, but the air fuel stayed consistent. So the 2017, it started getting richer and richer and richer. So if we ran this again, it would probably get way richer and drop even more power. That's just a function of heat soak, but still putting down, 8 or 10 more than the 2017 to the tires. So again, no big surprises there. So here's the 2 stock machines, the 18, 17. We're gonna race beforehand, before I tune mine with the Whelen tuning injectors, and then we're gonna race after. So that's what we got planned. Let's go get it done. Wrecking my forehead.
Yeah. I told you I need to go faster.
So this is a 2018 owner, so we just switched drivers. So I'm heavier, but it's about the same outcome no matter who drives it, no matter what happens. The tire pressure is the same. The suspension exactly the same because we did it in my garage based off my machine.
This has more miles.
Mine has more miles, so it's probably broken in more. That's the only thing we can figure. So anyway, now we've documented for the tune. So we're gonna run back, throw the tune and injectors in, do it again. Happens, so stay tuned. So we're back. Some results we didn't necessarily anticipate with the 18 and the 17. We figured the 18 would be a little bit quicker. We're talking through, I mean, we were both in sport mode, both on the fast key, same tire pressure, same suspension. We switched drivers, full wheel drive. The difference, besides the mechanical differences in the 18 and the tune and everything, which it does make more power. We've shown that on the dyno. On the same day, same conditions, it does make more power, but it doesn't get down the road faster. Now, it's not drastic. I'm not saying it's drastic, but the difference could be the belt, maybe, we're thinking. There's a harder compound on the 18 belt, so maybe it doesn't grab as hard out of the hole, and then when we get moving. But the last race, we launched dead even, and about 15 miles an hour, the 17 pulled out a little. So maybe it's grabbing the clutches or the belt harder when the clutches really shift. We don't know, but we're gonna throw these parts on. So all we're gonna do, you know, we're not doing an 18 fuel pump in this. We're not doing a lot of things that a lot of people say you have to do. We're simply dropping these bad boys in. So we got plug and play adapters. These are from Wayland Speed. I mean, they're from Fuel Injector Clinic, obviously, but got them through John at Wayland Speed. And then we got the dyno jet. So there's John's stickers. There's the dyno jet. I already got the cord routed, but I'll show you that. Goes in the glove box, diagnostic port. You just plug this in, has the tune preloaded, and we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see the difference. It should be noticeable. You know, even though the 17 was out ahead a little, it's like one machine, one car length. It should be a lot more. So, plus we're gonna go back on the dyno. So, let's go ahead and throw these parts on. Pull this CVT exhaust. It's just got some bolts up there, and this down here, and that'll give us better access to the fuel rail. So let's try that. There we go. Screwing around for one little hose clamp.
So he's coming all the way out the back with an extension.
What'd you do yesterday? Fucking around with this thing?
Had the baby class yesterday.
Baby class.
I got railed in here. I didn't really need a class on how to make babies, but my wife thought I did.
That's not backing it out.
Thing on the other side that's just spinning. If we could just get this to pop off.
There's a nut on the back side, Calvin. Hold on.
Here, you got it.
Got it? You just had to finagle it out of there. Get your big old
Now we
bear.
can lube it to slide it back in, if you know what I mean.
Bighorn tires. They're just as good as a toolbox.
So we got the fuel rail loose and popped up out of there. We're going to disconnect the electrical connectors. And there's probably some residual pressure in that rail. We're going to bleed that off very scientifically. But we don't recommend that you try what we try, so we don't want a fire. Stand by.
Oh, I hate these clips.
Okay, there's the rail. We're leaving it attached to the factory fuel line because we don't have the quick disconnect thing, but obviously we're going to be very careful about not getting dirt into the fuel system. We're going to blast this all off clean and slap the injectors in, the bigger ones. Alright, there's the assembly cleaned up as promised. Here's the old injectors out. Like Chad was saying, I mean, it's not super scientific, but you can tell based on the nozzle. Design is a lot different. And here's the Fuel Injector Clinic units.
Quite a bit different.
So, if you come over here, we're going to take, we got connectors inside here, plug and play for the Can-Am. So I'm trying not to touch the O-ring or anything with my dirty hands, but we take click this on here, and then we're ready to go straight into Can-Am wiring harness. Go till it snaps. So we got these three. I'm going to clean up my hands. We're going to put a tiny bit of WD or oil on these O-rings so they don't tear going in, and we'll be ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
Alright, so we're going to show, once you flip this rail over, the connectors will face the back of the machine, or face the front, face away from us. So sometimes these big O-rings can be...
I'm trying to hold it.
We got lubed up. We'll get it seated in there. And then we'll grab our clip. There we go. That's right in the groove on that injector. And it's clipped on the rail. So we'll make sure it's seated all the way. Like that. Should be good. All right. All three 850s are in. We're going to get this fuel rail button back up and flash the tune. All right. Here's a moment of truth. They're finishing buttoning up the rail. I got the little tuner bob here. It plugs into your diagnostic port's usually clipped right there in that dummy plug. So it's right here. I've already got the cable plugged in. Plugged it in there. So we're gonna hit the key. We've got ignition. So let's get to the flash tune. This is all the
metal clips are on the injectors. I'm trying to get
tunes I have on here. So we're gonna flash it. I've already married this tuner to the machine, so it's gonna go through the motions and write the ECU. So we're gonna let this complete. It takes 5 to 8 minutes sometimes, and we should be ready to rock. Okay, tuner is flashed. We pulled the key, let it set 45 seconds so the ECU could power down. And here's the moment of truth. Ooh, that's nice and smooth. Sounds just like stock. Again, make sure we don't have any leaks. Looks good. So we're gonna go back to the secret testing grounds and run the 18 again and see the difference. Yeah, we're gonna do a little test lap around the yard here. Boosted launch in 4-wheel drive.
fail.
Here's Mr. 18 driver. Gonna check out the newfound juice. Holy shit. That thing freaking rips. Is there any difference?
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot more low end and mid range hit. Once
It's
it
like
starts pulling, it pulls a lot harder.
It's like when the boost hits, it fucking hits.
Feels like it has double the torque now.
Yeah.
That's right on the road.
It just sounded totally different.
It sounds a lot throatier, but
Yeah.
it's getting a lot more fuel. Not nearly enough room to run it out, so.
Yeah, we gotta go to the private test track.
Go somewhere we can. The private test track.
This is Jared. He's the red-headed sand Jew. This is Chad, the snowmobile extraordinaire.
Yeah.
And you guys know me, probably. If you don't, you should.
You're lost.
So anyway, we're gonna go test it again.
Go around them.
Take the chase car and see what happens.
All right.
So here's my fuel trims. That tells you a little something about how good the injector calibration that John has in here is, because my fuel trims are 2% on the long, 3%. That's pretty freaking good, especially given the fact that I'm at really high altitude and John is at low altitude. So I would say he has the injector data in here spot on. Okay, so we just got finished. You will have seen the footage by now. It hits really hard on the bottom and it spins like crazy, but then it dies off up top. And I think that's a combination of things. We'll know more on the dyno, but number one, I'm at a really high altitude and it's common that you have to tighten up the wastegate to meet the targeted boost on these bigger tunes. So that's one thing we're going to check into and monitor AFR. So I don't know where I was when the other camera battery died, but it hit very hard on the bottom, but I wasn't hitting the targeted boost up top. I mean, I was 5 pounds of boost low. So nothing except the drop-in injectors in the 160, and it's an animal. It's back, you know, beating the 18 even by a bigger margin than it did before to some degree, and it feels really good. And so the next step is to get on the dyno and put numbers to all this. But you know, this is where the rubber meets the road out here. Ultimately, we'll race the last time with all the mods and see what the 180 tune does when it's hitting the targeted boost and it has the cold air intake and everything like it's designed to run. But for now, we're going to call it. We're going to put this on the dyno just the way it sits and see what the gain is, and then go up to the 180, throw in the intake and possibly adjust the wastegate and go from there. So we'll be back next time.